afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Hi,
Madame de Rothschild. I'm excited to speak to you because there's a lot going on in your space. As always, we've had wonderful conversation on finance and the chief executives and some of the challenges and opportunities that they see. So there's been a lot since I spoke to you last. It's the tariffs, the volatility, the markets have been a little bit all over the place. What are clients' expectations changing because of that at your bank?
I think client expectations are strengthening, meaning I think clients are, so one maybe put in perspective, I think there's several factors that I think are problematic to clients and to me personally. One, I think, is the disconnect between geopolitics and the markets, and it's very striking to see that, and even this morning, whatever happens, the stock market keeps rising worldwide. Second, I think level of debt, to me, contrary to the euphoria, is, I think it's problematic. I really have a question about the sustainability. Even if rates are expected to come down, I think the level of government debt is a problem worldwide. The level of corporate debt is manageable still, and the level of private debt, to me, is a big question mark. For pragmatic people. And then I think the global world is in a full reconfiguration, and you're talking about tariffs. I think what's very difficult to navigate is, I always say, the difference between uncertainty and volatility. We live off volatility, it's our job, but uncertainty is definitely very difficult for clients to manage. So I think all our clients, are looking for pragmatic, steady, long-term, with solid nerves, advisors, sang-froid, advisors who, yes, of course, on the short term, we are fully invested in the market with them because you don't want to miss the upswing. But I think they're looking a lot at diversifying risk. Through different types of asset classes, through geographies, and different types of investments throughout the world.
So talk to me a little bit about private markets. How do you make sure that Edmond de Rothschild is not left behind as more and more family offices actually ask for this kind of asset?
So we started, we've always done private equity. And I think 17 years ago, I think for me was very different. I said, I want to do private equity with purpose, which today you would call impact, because I felt very strongly about two things. One day I knew I was going to have to report to my daughters, who would say to me, what have you done really? Why are you, which by the way, they asked me, they said, what are you doing all day long? What's the meaning of what you're doing? Which I think was probably the best question asked. And second is really being committed to the real economy and to change. So we really focused on very narrow, probably very niche issues. So I'll give an example. Soil depollution, urban sprawl, how do you manage smart grids? It was after a discussion, I remember, about electricity. So how do you manage expansion, grids, etc., and urban sprawl. So by reusing industrial land and repurposing this land into, where, by the way, we have the bank in Switzerland, is new eco neighborhoods with mixed use, different types of social backgrounds. So we developed, and today we are managing around 20 billion euros in private equity. And I think, I would say, a lot of our clients are very geared towards, they want, to invest with meaning.
So when your daughters ask, actually, what is your sense of purpose? Because I know you're very optimistic about the next generation, that they know where they want to go, that they know what they want. I mean, what do you answer to your daughters?
So most of the times I said, come and do it yourself. Because I think I said, come and do it yourself. So, when they come and complain, they say, well, I hate your website. It's really not up to standards. I said, good. So be part of the teams that will contribute. And then actually they do.
Good way to learn.
They do. And I have one of my other daughters is working on systemic regeneration. So really I would say maybe past ESG, how do you produce while doing good and better upstream and not downstream? So all of them are, and so yes, they do challenge me, and I think it's fantastic because they push me to go one step further, and is giving them the space to create while challenging what we do. And so, of course, new technologies are at the core of our debates.
Yeah.
And so that's where sometimes I say to my young daughters, you are better equipped to address some of the issues more than me. So I really like to give them the space while checking sometimes.
I love. So we'll go back
while checking
to technology. But when you look at private markets, what makes you different than some of the large asset management companies? Like, so what's your selling point?
So I think there's a difference between, well, we do greenfield projects, meaning we really upstream, we really detect something that's dysfunctioning where we feel we can really make a change. We look for teams, so we really partner. We are the financial arm, and they are technicians. Because I'm not an expert in soil depollution. So they are, so we partner together, and we really start from a very early stage all the way up. And I think we really focus on greenfield projects, so the very long run. I think it's a long journey because, when you now it seems obvious to do infrastructure or infrastructure debt. 18 years ago, infrastructure was not really in anybody's radar as an asset class for clients to invest in.
Does that resonate with your clients?
Yes, they're very committed, very, very committed. And I think all our clients are themselves entrepreneurs first, and family businesses. And I think we share the same values, which is why do you do business? What do you do with your money? A very strong commitment to philanthropy, I think, is a very positive, really, especially in France. All our clients, when they sell the company, want to do philanthropy one way or another, which I think is remarkable. And of course, how do they pass on to their children with really sense of purpose? So I think private equity, the way we do it, does resonate immensely with them.
So you stepped into the leadership of Edmond de Rothschild following the loss of your husband. How do you innovate, keep going forward, do everything that you want to do, whilst at the same time keeping that legacy?
So first, it's true, I had already managed the bank. I had taken some time off, and I think the first round was, I would say, quite rough because when you're shaking, the established world is not very welcome. So I think it was my husband was watching and smiling, say, yeah, go do it. So he knew that you had to really shake the established order. Then I stepped back, and I came back when he passed away. I think for me, what really is essential is what I would call company culture and sense of purpose. I mean, to me and I worked very hard to share with all my teams what does it mean to work for Edmond de Rothschild. You can work for another bank, and first, why do you work for a bank? And it was a whole journey to say, go back to the essentials. You are here to serve clients, not to be a status-oriented job. It's serving clients all the time. And it's putting back, to the core of why we're doing this job. And the other thing is, which I did since I took over again, is share with them, bluntly, but share with them to say, I don't just manage a bank, I manage other businesses beside banking, which, by the way, I really feel are at par with banking, to me, because these are the assets of the family. And really share with them a common thread, which is family businesses, entrepreneurship, and long-term engagement. And really going through it on and on, sharing with them what it takes to manage a vineyard, what it takes to make She's in France, not anywhere, in France.
I feel like that's a tough business.
Very, very demanding. And all these different activities that are demand just as much work, don't make as much money, but that I consider to be essential to who we are and why we do these businesses. And I think the common thread, which was not a challenge, but I said was really a strategic ambition to share with them, is say, I really feel we should be about rooted luxury, and we discussed it. And I, on purpose, chose the word luxury and not excellence, because I think luxury has three amazing pillars, which is products, focus on products, incredible focus on service and goodwill, an amazing discipline in executing the three. And I think, people are shaking or debating luxury, but to build luxury it's a long journey, it's a tough journey. And rooted, of course, was really to remind them, one, not only family history, but values. And also, again, going back to being really pragmatic, down to earth. And, I really find the correct balance. And finance is a very abstract world. And I have very lucky to live in both worlds, a very down to earth, my cows, my cheese, which I have to have, I don't want to lose money on these businesses. And then I do finance. And I think it's been an amazing journey, one, because they all took it as a really challenge to be up to the level. Two, I think for younger generation, again, I think one of the issues in finance is attracting young talent. Yeah. A lot of people say, no, people don't want to go into banking. Personally, I think it's not what I see. They're very enthusiastic about it, but as long as you really have a meaning of why you're doing finance.
But so when you focus on the client, is that the only way of almost balancing, this continuity that you're talking about, whilst at the same time changing what you want to change at the bank?
So when you say rooted luxury, I said, you have to, one, apply it to yourself, and you have to apply it within the bank. So, it's really going back to product service. So a bank, you have, the front people, the bankers that you see, but you have the big machine behind that's supporting all the front. So it's really reconnecting between the front and the back supporting the front, but the front respecting the back. Because I think still in banks, you tend to have a hierarchy that I really don't believe in. So it's really working on a much flatter structure. And so we moved in Geneva, and on purpose, of course, it's an open space, but even the top management, including myself, we have a basic, just glass office, but like everybody else, and there's no hierarchy anymore.
Sounds like Bloomberg.
Like here. After I visited you, I said this is the best office space. But I think it's a radical change in a very conservative private bank type. And I think it's fantastic to see how the younger generation is bringing so much energy, challenging, but you have to give them the space. So that's why I really worked on a very flat structure to allow everybody to express themselves.
Where do you see Edmond de Rothschild in 10 years that you're working on now?
I have to ask my daughters. In 10 years...
family dinners must be fun.
They're a lot of fun. So, and especially because they debate hard. So one of my daughters is in the perfume company, and she's totally digital, has a platform and business. She's an entrepreneur at heart. And then the other one is a very structured, she's a brain, really. So when you put the two of them around the table, it's a good combo. Fireworks. But I think it's fantastic because each one has a completely different role, approach. So I think the big issue of next gen, and that's my personal take as a mother, is how do you give them, and enough space for them to I don't believe in forcing businesses down to your children. And I think our big challenge is how do you give them enough space for them to express themselves, create, experience, fail, retry, the whole process that I think I was lucky to have. Give them that space. Yeah, failing I think is fantastic. Failing is the best way to learn. I failed a lot, a lot.
What did you learn from failing?
How do you choose people? How do you trust people? How do you organize yourself? Which businesses you choose? You know, it's by experiencing that you start, getting your. And I think they have their space to create, and at the same time, little by little, they are throughout different businesses. So we have a hospital, so one of my daughters is joining the board. So really, little by little, getting them in, and I think as they mature, they're really grasping. And I always say to be a leader is vision, choosing the right people, is not being a technical person. It's where do you want to go? You must know where you want to go. Otherwise, how are you going to take all your teams with you if you don't know exactly where you're heading? So knowing where you want to go is key.
Is there a danger that technology changes any of that? I know you like human-to-human contact, right?
So my take is the more digital we will become, which on a daily basis will solve a lot of things, the more the human will be essential and at the core. So I strongly believe in building humans, in creating a human space. And I think in banks that you see the trends, so this fast rise of neobanks and digital banks is really interesting to see that they themselves are starting to realize that they will have to have regulation, like we do. They will have to have some sort of a physical space, and they're moving towards us, and we're moving towards them. But the core will be human beings' trust. My clients come to see me. They don't come to see a machine or my bankers, but they...
Simply put, but actually effective.
They don't come to see... and at the end of the day, money, portfolios are essential, but what matters most is the trust you put into people.
Ariane, in November, actually, there's a new inheritance tax bill that's being discussed in Switzerland. There's quite a lot going on in Switzerland with banks in general.
We vote all the time.
You vote all the time?
All the time we vote.
It's a good thing about democracy, but is there a danger that less wealthy people come to Switzerland because of it?
So I think, yes, we vote all the time. I think it's an incredible country for being French and then moving to Switzerland. I think the French like to tease the Swiss and say, but they vote on everything. So Swiss, for example, will vote on less holidays. So for a French person, you say, no, this is crazy, but they're reasonable people. They are really, because...
I mean, the British are still trying to process that.
No, but it's only in Switzerland. The Swiss, because they are responsible for what they vote. So people coming to Switzerland, I think, is great news for Switzerland.
Are you comfortable in the way that Switzerland is headed in terms of regulation, innovation?
So I think one is, so Switzerland is an incredible country, one, for its stability, level of innovation, the way this country is always below the radar, and you have really, it's super dynamic, but extremely silent. Yes, regulation is coming at par with European regulation. It is a question mark, not because of regulation per se, but because if you're competing on international markets, you want to be sure you're not over-regulated in Europe versus the US that's deregulating, and I think it's every banker's concern. And I think the magic of Switzerland is those managing the country, the Conseil d'État, they switch on a yearly basis. So you are not at risk of having one single person managing the country.
Is there anything in terms of regulation that would make your life easier right now? Or actually either to grow, or where do you see the biggest opportunity for Edmond de Rothschild?
So we focus a lot on Europe, and I'm a strong country to current wins, but I still remain very optimistic about Europe for several reasons. I think the market itself is 450 million people. It's gigantic. The level of education. I strongly believe in the social state. You can debate what's the level of a social state, but I firmly believe in it. I think it's everybody's responsibility to include, health, insurance, education, free education. I'm a strong believer in those values. And I think we have to fight hard. I regret that the European Union is, I think I grew up in Africa. I grew up in countries where all of this did not exist. And I think people tend to take it for granted and are not proud enough of how privileged we are, even if we have problems. But we're amazingly privileged, even vis-a-vis the US. We're very privileged on many fronts.
I mean, we're out of time, but best piece of advice to all the leaders here, who wake up every day making decisions. Is there something that stays with you?
So I always say, believe in what you feel. Many years I felt strongly things, and you tend to, especially as a woman, you don't listen to it because you say, no, that's the way people do it. This is not right. I really think be instinctive, because I think it's the biggest strength and any man can have is instinct, and go for your instinct.
Ariane de Rothschild, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.